You've probably seen the headlines about the escalating conflict in Iran, but then you look at your receipt from the gas station or your latest utility bill, and you might start to wonder, are these two things connected? Well, today we're going to trace that exact line, from military tension in the Persian Gulf straight to the rising costs hitting you at home.
So let's cut to the chase. What does a conflict all the way over in Iran really change for us here? Does it actually have a real, tangible impact on our day-to-day lives?
The answer is a huge, definite yes. And we're not talking about something that might happen. The effects are already here. We're seeing higher prices at the pump, our electricity and gas bills are creeping up, and yup, even the cost of groceries is starting to climb. So let's dig into exactly why this is happening.
To really get this, we need to zoom out a little and look at how our global energy system is all wired together. And, spoiler alert, it's a lot more fragile and interconnected than most of us probably realize. Okay, so the whole story really kicks off in this one tiny but unbelievably important spot on the map, a narrow channel of water called the Strait of Hormuz. Think of it as a critical bottleneck for a global energy, and it's where the first domino in this chain reaction fell.
Just to give you an idea of how crucial this strait is, about 1/5 of the entire world's daily oil supply passes through this single narrow passage. That's something like 20 million barrels every single day. And it's not just oil. 1/5 of the world's trade in liquefied natural gas, or LNG, also has to sail through here. Its strategic importance is just immense.
So in early March, things escalated with terrifying speed. First, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, the Pasdaran, just flat out declared the strait closed. Then they kind of walked it back a bit, but issued threats and offered zero safety guarantees. The real tipping point, though, was March 7th, when a tanker was actually hit by a drone. Instantly, the insurance costs for war risk just went through the roof, making it way too expensive to even try to pass. So, without building a single wall, the strait effectively became a no-go zone. And listen, this wasn't some vague diplomatic posturing. This was the direct quote from the Pasdaran on March 2nd. It sent a chillingly clear message to the entire global shipping industry. This was a real threat, and it brought traffic to a grinding halt.
So the strait is basically shut down. Why does that matter so much to us here in Italy? Well, it comes down to one country that is absolutely vital to our energy supply: Qatar. And guess what? All of their energy exports have to pass through that strait. I mean, how crucial is Qatar, really? Well, take a look. They are our single largest supplier of liquefied natural gas. A massive 45% of all our LNG imports come from there, and every single drop of it has to navigate the Strait of Hormuz. But just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. On the very same day the strait was declared closed, things went from bad to dire. 2 Iranian drones actually struck key energy facilities inside Qatar itself. The result? The world's biggest LNG producer, Qatar Energy, announced a complete and total shutdown of production. It was a direct hit on our _1 supplier. Now, we've been throwing this term LNG around a lot. What is it? It's actually super simple. It's just regular natural gas that's been made incredibly cold until it turns into a liquid. This makes it way easier and safer to ship across the ocean. It's a pretty wild industrial process. They pull the gas from the ground, clean it up, and then cool it down in these massive facilities. They ship it as a liquid, and then when it gets to our shores, special terminals warm it back up so it becomes a gas again before it goes into our homes.
And when I say cold, I mean seriously mind-bogglingly cold. We're talking minus 162 degrees Celsius. But why on earth go through all that trouble?
Because of this is the magic trick. When you turn natural gas into a liquid, its volume shrinks by 600 times. That's the whole key. That's what makes it possible and economical to ship it all over the world.
Let me put that another way, because this is a real game changer. To move the same amount of energy, you would either need 600 of these huge traditional gas tankers, or just one specialized LNG carrier. It completely revolutionized global energy logistics.
Okay, so we've got a supply disruption in Qatar and a blocked shipping lane. That's a physical problem. How does that turn into a financial one that affects you? Well, that leap happens in the energy markets. That's where the price you ultimately pay gets decided. There's this brilliant analogy for Europe's main gas market, the Dutch TTF. It's like a small plane. Because the market is so sensitive, even a little bit of turbulence, like a supply disruption, can cause a massive, violent jolt for everyone on board. And boy, did we get a jolt. Just look at these numbers.
Before the crisis hit, on February 27th, the price of gas was sitting at 32 euros per megawatt hour. By March 4th, it had rocketed up to 55 euros. That is a 72% increase in less than a week. And it didn't stop there. It blew right past 60 euros shortly after. The market's reaction was instant, and it was severe.
Now, when the price of gas goes through the roof like that, the price of electricity immediately follows it up. Why? Well, it's pretty simple. In Italy, we generate about half of our electricity by burning natural gas. So when the fuel source, gas, jumped 72%, the wholesale price of electricity was pulled right along with it, rising 54%.
All right, so we've traced this chain reaction from a drone strike in Qatar all the way to the trading floors in Amsterdam. Now, for the final link in the chain, what this all means for the bill that shows up in your mailbox.
The current estimates are pointing to a potential 15% increase on gas bills and around an 8 to 10% increase for electricity in the next quarter. Now, of course, the exact impact on you personally depends on your contract. If you're on a fixed rate, you're protected for now. But if you have a variable rate, you are going to feel this impact much, much sooner.
And you know, the pain doesn't stop with your utility bills. Think about it. Every single business, from your local bakery to a huge factory, runs on energy. When their energy costs go up, they eventually have to pass those costs on to us, the consumers, and that means higher prices for pretty much everything.
There is one little piece of good news, for now anyway. A few LNG ships had already left Qatar and gotten through the Strait before this all blew up. That cargo is enough to cover Italy's needs for March. The real problem, the one everyone is worried about, is what comes next. If Qatar's production doesn't get back online soon, the ships scheduled for April, May, and June might have nothing to load.
So all of this leaves us with a really uncertain future. If the conflict de-escalates, maybe the market calms down. But if it drags on, we could see these prices climb even higher. It's just a stark reminder that in our incredibly connected world, the stability of our household bills is directly tied to the instability of a region thousands of miles away. The ultimate cost, it turns out, depends not just on markets, but on geopolitics.